Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup. Well, seems we now know the real reason, or shall we say additional reasons, why the Democratic Party, the DNC, has basically canceled the Democratic primary and therefore democracy, saying we will not hold debates with challengers Marianne Williamson, RFK Jr., or anyone else that gets in to challenge President Biden. Basically, the media and the Democratic Party have put out that, they're all gadflies, they're not serious, and we're going to support the incumbent president by not having a competition, which in history, there have been competitions in primaries in the Democratic Party. Well, obviously, it seems due to his unpopularity, low approval ratings, his shrinking numbers among younger voters, even African-American voters, that would be a reason not to hold a competition. But new reporting indicates they might not want to put him out there for fear of Joe Biden himself. Let's take a look. This is from Axios, headline, Old Yeller, Biden's private fury. Quite the image. In public, President Biden likes to whisper to make a point. In private, he's prone to yelling. Behind closed doors, Biden has such a quick trigger temper that some aides try to avoid meeting alone with him. Some take a colleague almost as a shield against a solo blast. The president's admonitions include, God damn it, how the fuck don't you know this? Don't fucking bullshit me and get the fuck out of here, according to current and former Biden aides who have witnessed and been on the receiving end of such outbursts. The private eruptions paint a more complicated, that's a way of phrasing it, picture of Biden as a manager and president that is carefully cultivated image as a kindly uncle who loves aviator sunglasses and ice cream. Some Biden aides think the president would be better off occasionally displaying his temper in public as a way to assuage voter concerns that the 80-year-old president is disengaged and too old for office. Senior and lower level aides alike can be in Biden's line of fire. Quote, no one is safe, said one administration official. Biden aides still talk about how angry he got at Jeff Zients, then the administration's COVID czar, in late 2021, when there was a shortage of testing kits as the Omicron variant spread. The rage was temporary. Zients is now Biden's chief of staff, also happens to be a big pharma shill, but that's for another day. Spokesperson for Zients told Axios, I'm not going to speak to what internal convos may or may not have happened between Jeff and the president. The White House declined to comment. Quote, there's no question that the Biden temper is for real. It may not be as volcanic as Bill Clinton's, but it's definitely there, said Chris Whipple, author of The Fight for His Life Inside Joe Biden's White House. Whipple's book quotes from former White House press secretary Jen Psaki as saying, I said to Biden multiple times, I know we have a really good trusting relationship when you yell at me the first time. Whipple notes Psaki wouldn't have to wait long. Biden's temper comes in the form of angry interrogations rather than erratic tantrums. He grills aides on topics until it's clear they don't know the answer to a question, or they don't know the answer to a question, a routine that some see as meticulous and others call, quote, stump the chump or stump the dummy. Being yelled at by the president has become an internal initiation ceremony in this White House. If Biden doesn't yell at you, it could be a sign he doesn't respect you. Ted Kaufman, Biden's longtime chief of staff, when the future president represented Delaware in the Senate, told Axios that Biden's process is policy-driven and has made him a strong executive. Yeah, this seems much different to me. First of all, Biden is not the only male or female politician to treat staff aides like complete shit, go from 0 to 60 in, a couple seconds. So I'm not making this out to be, a massive deal. However, the way it's being reported is his temper seems to erupt very quickly. I'm not a doctor, but all you got to do is research. This does tend to be a symptom with some cognitive issues or deficiencies for older people. I'm, again, not diagnosing him, but the reports seem to state that his temper can go volatile like that, and he could be in a good mood and then immediately erupt. That's not necessarily just somebody doing a angry investigation to prove that, you're stupid. That's somebody who cannot control their temper, or that their cognitive functioning is making them erupt very, very quickly, shifting moods very, very quickly. This is not necessarily good if you have a dual optical problem of kind of, having incoherent sentences, a foggy memory, forgetting where you are, forgetting the name of the president you served with. That happened on the 2020 campaign trail. And basically sounding belligerent if allowed to talk for too long. So if I was a political advisor to the president, who's 80 years old, and he already was sounding not so sharp, already was clearly showing some cognitive rust, or as the media and Democratic Party operatives that like to cover for him call it a stutter. Well, he wasn't stuttering when he was vice president or a senator. So now it's a stutter when he's clearly having problems articulating. But with that cognitive issue, which obviously is why in many polls, as many as 65 to 70% polled said they are mildly or moderately concerned about his mental or physical ability to do the job. If you then add on a volatile temper that can erupt like a volcano, I wouldn't want to put that on a debate stage against an articulate woman who is, I believe, 11 years younger in Marianne Williamson, who talks inspirationally, talks articulately, basically talks like, in ways that are graceful. Whether you agree or disagree with her policies has nothing to do with it. She's clearly sharp. She's clearly talks in a way that is refined, that makes sense, that has inspired many people, including young people. I sure wouldn't want to put a walking volcanic eruption on stage with him. I wouldn't want to put him on stage with RFK Jr., who obviously, due to his vocal condition, I forget the name of it, has a rusty voice, but certainly speaks more articulately than Biden. RFK can erupt as well, but not like this. RFK definitely gets defensive in interviews, but I have not heard of RFK screaming at staff. It would certainly be a bad look if Biden is screaming at a woman on a debate stage, or a Kennedy, shall I say. And by the way, Marianne Williamson commented on this report, and I have to agree with her. Wait a minute. There's been all these stories about how Marianne Williamson treats her staff like crap, is a control freak, has a volatile temper, has drove staffers to quit. Which some of that, from what I have been told from 2020 campaign sources, and including this year, definitely are true. I mean, she definitely does have a volatile temper. She definitely has driven off staffers by her controlling nature, micromanager, et cetera, et cetera. But those stories were played up, and she was almost violent. But Biden's temper, apparently that's just, it is what it is. He's the president, or he's a man. Marianne Williamson commented on this clear double standard. It was an interesting article because it put his behavior in context. It reported on his outbursts, but it also explained them, protecting him from a crazy person image. And it also mentioned Clinton, rather famous for the same thing. Double standard doesn't even begin to cover it. Another aspect of the gotcha hysteria is this. One incident repeated 4 or 5 times becomes embellished that many times beyond what actually happened. Then someone else says, hell, I'll just make up something. Or even, well, I never personally saw it. She was always nice to me, but I heard from Mabel, who heard from Jonathan, that she's a bitch, so I'll repeat it. Witch hunt turns to witch burning, psychologically still true today. She is basically referencing what has happened to her, where you have, 10 anonymous sources and a political story, many of them saying, well, I never personally heard it, or I never personally saw it, but I did hear X, Y, and Z. Again, I think there is validity to her temper problems. I think there is validity to her controlling nature. I think there is validity to it being difficult to work for or with her. However, it's certainly treated much, much differently in the media for a woman than it is for male, generally older white Democratic politicians and Republican politicians. But I don't think this is a nothing burger. Of course, the Democrats don't want Biden to put him out there, not just for debates, but they don't want to put him out there any more than they have to for stump speeches, campaign rallies, more travel than they need to. He's 80 years old. Clearly, he is not in his prime. That's a way of saying it. I believe there's some cognitive decline going on. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not diagnosing it. But clearly, just by looking and watching for the last couple of years, there are issues that tend to happen with older people. It's nothing to feel ashamed of. But optically, if you already have polls that are showing Trump beating Biden head-to-head, or Trump beating Biden with Cornel West, who has polled between 4 and 6%, if you already have such high concerns among Democrats polled in terms of his age, physical and mental ability to do the job, and then all it takes in today's digital and visual medium is one outburst that he cannot control on stage, in a debate, at a campaign rally, for your numbers to nosedive and you to look like the old declining cognitive Archie Bunker. And that's it. Either the Democrats will feel they have to throw him under the bus, bring in Gavin Newsom, or even with all of Trump's problems, even with DeSantis' problems, the country is closely divided. You lose independents who don't want to vote for a cognitive mess / somebody who seems unhinged on a debate stage or a campaign stump, or you just lose enough of those younger voters or black voters who aren't coming out for you, similar to what happened in 2016, a deflation in votes among Democrats. Trump or DeSantis wins narrowly. That could very well happen. And by the way, if you need a reminder of Biden snapping on the campaign trail, this was during 2020. So we're not even talking just about what could happen if he's on the campaign trail in a Democratic primary. This is some of his, gems from the 2020 campaign trail.
And he's no backbone, we know that for that. But you, on the other hand, sent your son over there to get a job and work for a gas company that he had no experience with gas or nothing, in order to get access to the public, for the president. So you're selling access to the president just like he is. So
You're a damn liar, man. That's not true. And no one has ever said that? No one has heard that?
I see it on the TV.
You see it on the TV. No, I know you do. And by the way, that's why I'm not sedentary. I get up and no, let him go. Let him go. Look, the reason I'm running is because I've been around a long time and I know more than most people know. And I can get things done. That's why I'm running. And you want to check my shape on, let's do push-ups together here, man. Let's run. Let's do whatever you want to do.
You're a damn liar. And that was tame. That was tame. Let's show the gems of him telling folks not to vote for him when the voter said, I will vote for you. This one was pretty beyond the pale.
I'm going to support you if you win the nomination because we got to get rid of Trump.
It started off fine, but Biden quickly became agitated when Fallon didn't agree to support him in the caucuses.
We got to stop building and replacing pipelines. You got to go vote for somebody else.
All right, thanks so much, sir. We're going to have you here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I'm going to vote you in the general if you treat me
right.
right.
I know. Well, I'm not.
Well, can I have
Look,
a picture?
you're asking a picture of me. You're coming up and telling me you don't support me.
No.
My plan. Yeah, you did. You said you
I said I would support you in the general.
In the general. I'm looking for a primary.
We're happy to get a number. We can follow up.
That's what I'm looking for, okay?
Just because we're trying to get.
You believe that Bernie can do something and by 2030.
So where do you start with that? The guy said, I'll vote for you in the general, just made a true, mild statement. We need to stop building fossil fuel infrastructure. Obviously, Biden has not kept his promise to stop drilling on public land, has continued Obama, Trump fracking the hell out of the country. He then held up the guy's shirt, which is kind of an invasion of space. If he's basically cursing and dropping F-bombs at his staffers nonstop, I wouldn't want him on the debate stage, and I certainly wouldn't want him more than he needs to be on the campaign trail. Well, devil's advocate could say, Jordan, he's been in politics for 50 years. He knows not to drop F-bombs against voters. He knows not to be doing angry investigations, calling voters stupid, as has been reported about how he's been behaving against his staff. Well, For those of you who have had, older family members in your life, older friends who have cognitive issues, again, I'm not diagnosing him, but we do know short tempers and volatile mood swings is associated with some cognitive issues, particularly in older people. So he might not be able to control it. So it would make sense why you don't want him debating, why you don't want to have a primary, which makes even less sense why Marianne Williamson and RFK have not announced joint debates against each other with, big name folks, maybe Joe Rogan, others with big platforms, to shame Biden, to call his bluff, to call him a chicken shit and try and draw him out and try and turn voters against him because they are canceling the primary. If you have a big debate between Marianne Williamson and RFK Jr., let's say you have live and then after 20 to 30 million viewers, which is possible if it was Joe Rogan or somebody else, Democratic Party is going to look very, very small and very, very shameful that they won't put the president to debate these candidates. So he's obviously vulnerable. For some reason, they're not doing it. Doesn't make a lot of sense.